Hey everybody, RD here. Today I've got a cool new quadcopter from Syma. It's the X5UW. This is the newest in the line of the X5 series. If you've been in quadcopters for a while, you probably started out with an X5. This is actually the first one I owned. I had a few smaller drones and went up to the X8 series, was my first Syma. But this is a great quadcopter. You can see why the X5 series is so popular. It's just a super flyer, and this is the same size as the other, as X5s. It's just been redesigned, and the body is just a little sleek, maybe a little more futuristic looking. I like this glossy red. It's got different landing gear. This landing gear is actually really nice. Just an overall great little quadcopter. Just really neat. But the added features, I would say this is kind of like the ultimate version of the X5, because you not only have altitude hold, which is great for aerial video and photography, but you've got FPV feed off of it, which is a huge plus. But you're not going to be recording that FPV feed to your phone. It actually does have an SD card in the back, so it records it locally here on the card, so you're getting an HD feed, and you're not having to record that low resolution standard definition feed to your phone. So just a really cool quadcopter. Gear Best sent me this for review, and it's just I can't say enough positive about this thing. There's just very few negatives, so not really surprising given how successful the X5 series has been for Syma. It is 120 grams, so there's no you don't need to have a FAA registration in the United States to fly this, so that's a big plus. It does come with prop guards. I did not fly it with prop guards in my video. I'm not a big fan of prop guards. If you're a beginner, you might want to consider the prop guards, so that will help with your flight time. It comes with a USB cable for charging the battery, and a microSD card reader, and a screwdriver in there. It also comes with 4 spare props, so that's a bonus, But these props are pretty durable, so you're not too likely to bust them, but you never know. The battery in this thing, though, is one of the negatives, and it's a proprietary battery. The battery inside is just a standard 500 milliamp per hour. Excuse me. 3.7 volt 1S LiPo, but it comes, and you might be able to see it there. If I don't know if it'll focus in on the camera or not. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a cold, and but I think if you crack this open, you probably could replace this battery. But I don't think this is going to be too terribly expensive anyway. It's just a little connector and inside of, to this battery. But you do have to use this particular battery to plug it into the port. Right there on the side is where it will plug in when you plug this in. But it does make removing and installing the battery really simple. So I don't really mind it, but it would be probably easier and cheaper if it just used the standard batteries like the older X5s and a lot of the other toy quadcopters. But I think they do make on the back of the box here, it shows they do make a charging station for the batteries. Looks like you could charge up to 3 of them. So I don't know if those are available yet, but that would be something to consider with this, rather than using the USB cable to charge. The quadcopter I get about 8.5 minutes, so I'm getting really good flight time with this. And that's with the prop guards removed. I think with the prop guards on, you're probably going to chop that down by 30 seconds, maybe even a minute. I'm not really sure. It's got orange LEDs on the front under the motor pods here, green in the rear, so a little different color combination, but a good contrast between the front and back, so it helps with orientation. Now, during the daytime, you're not going to see these LEDs very well. Pretty typical with a 1S LiPo. The LEDs are just not very bright, so it is difficult to see the low voltage alarm, and when you're recording, the lights do flash. But when I was overhead, I could see it, or whenever I was on a sunny day and the clouds, when it got cloudy, I was able to see the LEDs. But that is a bit of a problem. But like I said, not that uncommon for a 1S LiPo quad. It's got a power button on the top, so when you plug this battery in here, it's not going to power up. I snap that battery in. You can see here, this is how you remove it. You just press this little white button here, and then the battery pops out. So really simple. It works really well. Probably supposed to make it look like little smart batteries that you see in expensive GPS high-end drones. They're going to go for that, that kind of look. But the power button here works really real simple. But I like it. You just hold it down for a moment, and then the lights will start to blink, and then you bind it. So you don't just tap it. You actually have to hold it down. But it kind of looks like a computer power button. I like that. I like the location. It's easy to reach. So let's move on to the controller. I really like this controller. This is a redesign too, and kind of a simple design, kind of like how DJI has a kind of simple controller. They're probably going for that kind of a style too. And one thing you may notice is, hey, where's the trim buttons? Well, it is a bit odd on trimming using the controller. You actually have to press in on the left stick, and then I think to trim the roll, then you'll push the right stick left or right to trim the roll, and if you want to trim the pitch, you press that on the left stick and then go up or down to trim up or down on the sorry, not the pitch, the pitch. It's weird. I'm going to get myself confused, but this is the roll, this does the pitch, and if you press in and do left and right, I think that trims the yaw. It's goofy, but if you calibrate this thing before you fly, I've had no problems. Another guy, John Coopy, you may have seen his reviews. I hope I pronounced his name right. We've talked, and same thing with him. Whenever he takes off, he calibrated, and there's no issues. So you probably don't need to trim. And the app itself that you use for FPV does have a trimming feature in the on-screen display, so you could also do it from there. So I don't know how well this would work when you're trying to fly and then press in and trim. I mean, it does hover and hold position well, but that's awkward. So I think they should have included the trim buttons. But I think they were going for a kind of simplistic, sleek design, but I think that was a silly decision. On the top here, you've got 4 bumpers or 4 buttons. The top right button here is your auto takeoff and auto land. So I love to use that. It works really, really well. The rear right is for 3D flips, which I did a few my first test flight, and it's a little sloppy with 3D flips. So, being a camera quad, I don't really see the purpose of doing 3D flips, but you could. I'm not going to do them in my flight review. It just doesn't seem to be a point for this particular X5 version. The front left here is for your recording your video, and the rear is for pictures. When you press the front left, the lights will start to blink like I mentioned earlier, and they'll stay flashing, and you turn it off, just hit it again. In the rear, will take a picture, the lights will blink once to show you that a picture's been taken, which of course is kind of hard to see during the day. To calibrate the gyros before taking off, the accelerometer, you just press it down and to the right, the lights will flash and go solid. To reset your headless mode direction, if you're going to use that, you press down and to the left, and it'll do a different flash. I think it's a slower flash pattern. To enter in headless mode, you're going to press the right stick down and hold it for 3 seconds, and then I think it'll start making a beep beep sound. You're in that, ding 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 or beep 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 sound. You're in headless mode, and I think you hold it down 2 seconds to bring it back out. I'm not a fan of headless mode. I don't use it. It confuses me because I'm not a beginner. So I'm not a big fan of it. But if you do use headless mode, it does have that option. I don't think it has a 1-key return though. But there's ways if you're using headless mode to kind of use a 1-key return if you watch some instructional flight videos. So I think that pretty much covers the controller. Now it does come with a smartphone app from Syma. It's a really good app, and that app is called the Syma Go app right here. And you first need to connect to the Wi-Fi of the quad, and then you open the app. So we'll quickly go over that so we can get to the flight video. So I've got the battery in. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start up the quad. It's blinking. I'm going to go ahead and and bind it. But you do your typical binding procedure. And one thing I didn't mention here too, I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to unlock the propellers in the house. But if you do the sticks in both of them in, that will unlock the propellers. You can also do it up and then back to the center. And maybe let's turn off the quad so I can demonstrate that, since there's two. Both of them in will unlock the blades and let you take off manually, or you can also just do the stick up and bring it back to the center, and that will unlock the propellers. Or you can just use the auto takeoff feature, which I prefer to use. I just think it's cool. So that's one thing I did forget to mention on the controller. So that I usually use this one. The inner sticks in, because if you whenever you unlock it, it works fine. But when you land, you got to hold it down for about 2 seconds. So when you land, it's kind of hard to land that way, and they hold it because the propeller's still going, and it kind of wants to move around on the ground. So I would use the stick in. So let's go ahead and turn the quad back on again. We'll go back to the app. Got to remember to hold that button in for a second. So let's go ahead and we'll bind it. Alright, it's bound. And just wait a moment here, and it says to wait 20 seconds in the instruction manual, but you don't need to wait that long. But it's going to settings, your phone, into your Wi-Fi, and it should pop up here in the list. Right now I'm connected to my home Wi-Fi. Let's see if it pops up here. Still says it's searching. There it is. Sometimes it takes a moment, so maybe you do need that 20 seconds. In the past, I've not had a problem. It's FPV Wi-Fi D982 is what it called. Yours could be called different. Okay, and it's connected. So at that point, you're just going to, and I hope I may have had that little off center there. I apologize, but once you get that connected, then you're going to go over to the to the app, which is the Syma Go app there. Start that up, and it said it crashed, and that happens to a lot of these apps, and this is the first time that's happened on the Syma Go app, but no big deal. And then you're just going to press start, and we should get a feed, and there it is. Now there's an on-screen display you may be able to see with the, you can control it, or you can use a gravity sensor to fly it around. It even has in here a flight plan. You can actually draw a flight plan, and it'll show how it's going to go. I would not trust that. It's going to be using just a compass and maybe a timer. I don't know. It's goofy. Without GPS, I just don't think that's a good idea. But I guess if you wanted to test it out, you could, since they advertise it, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and take the on-screen display off. So I'm going to, let's see, press up, and then you press this far left button. It does have your rates there, gyro calibration, headless mode. You can take photo, video, so you can do everything from the app. But I'm not a fan of that because you've got a controller. Why do you need to use the on-screen display? So I'm going to turn that off, and now you can see the Wi-Fi there. And it's a little bit laggy, but it's not terrible. I've had it freeze up a little bit, but it's not bad. It works pretty well for a Wi-Fi. You know, it's not 5.8 gigahertz, so it's going to be a little bit laggy because it's going to interfere with the controller, so it's also going to limit your range. But I said the app works pretty good. It's one of the nicer apps compared to those more generic apps you see in some of the other brands who use all this basically. You know, they just basically use the same app and rename it and buy it from the same person. So I really like this app. So I think that pretty much covers the app. So go ahead and close that down. And you can see here, let's go ahead and show how it goes in. The clip is really nice. I've had some other ones that have not been able to hold my phone with my case. This is an LG G4, so it's a decent sized phone. But this clip works great. It just clips right in there, and there's absolutely no issue. It's a little top heavy with it in there, which is to be expected for a smaller controller like this, but you know, it's not enough to affect it flying. Like I said, I love this controller, and I like the sticks, and just really good for a thumb flyer, but it would also work good for a pincher. So yeah, I really like that. So just kind of looking stuff over here, and I'm going to turn it off. I don't want to get an accidental takeoff there. Just kind of checking my notes over to make sure we didn't forget anything. Yeah, I think it's pretty much covered a lot of it there. Like I said, a few cons I could think of. You know, whenever I was recording a video, you know, there is some jello in the video, and that's not to be unexpected for something, you know, like this without any anti-vibration mount. But if you were to take these props off and balance them, you probably could eliminate a lot of that jello. But these props are pretty flimsy, and I don't know how easy they can be balanced. But if you have a good prop balancer, I think that's going to help you out there with the jello. And the LEDs are weak, like I said, which is not unexpected either. And the proprietary battery, that's probably the biggest negative, though to me it's not that huge of a deal, because I don't think these are going to be too terribly expensive. But you couldn't just throw them some spare batteries you have from your old X5 or something in this one. So that's probably the biggest negative for a lot of people. But it's got a lot of pros. The altitude hold works great. It holds its position awesome. I can take my hands off the controller and it just sit there if there's no wind. It's just a great flyer. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything. So let's move along now and get to the flight video. All right, let's do the flight test for the new Syma X5UW. I've already got it connected to the app here, and so just to make it a little quicker, let's go ahead and take it up for a flight. I'm going to set it down here and calibrate the gyros first, just since I've been walking around with it on, just to make sure that's all calibrated properly. And we'll go ahead and take it up for a flight. Okay, to calibrate the gyros, you just push it down and to the right. And then, of course, in the daytime here, you're not going to be able to see very good. Lights are on. Just want to make sure it was still on. I'll go ahead and do it again. You can't see those lights flashing as bright as the sun is right now. All right, I'm not going to use any of the app controls to do it. I'm going to fly with the controller. I don't ever see the point of using the app to fly the quadcopter, and any of these. It's kind of silly. Go ahead and unlock the blades. Now you can take off manually by unlocking into the middle, and there the blades are unlocked and spinning. To lock them again, you just push down and in, and you can lock them. You can also unlock by pressing up into the middle, and it'll lock. But you can also then unlock. You can also push down for a long time, I think over 2 seconds, and it'll stop spinning. Now, if you're doing that while you're flying, it could be kind of like the X8HG that I have. I haven't had to do it yet, but I would not recommend holding this down, bringing it down for more than 2 seconds, because that could kill the motors. I haven't seen the instructions yet. The instructions are not the greatest, but I would always just be careful when you're descending, just in case it does that, but I don't think it does. It could be the barometer detects that it's in the air, so it won't kill the motors. I'm not sure. But I always use, this to stop the blades and start it. But you also have the automatic takeoff and landing, which I'm going to demonstrate that, because I think that's really cool. I like to use that. So you can take off either way. So let's go ahead and get it up in the air. Actually, let's start recording video first here so we can demonstrate that. That's the top front button here. And we'll go ahead and take off. That's very, very smooth. I can see why this is such a popular series from Syma, the X5s. This is the first one that I've owned, but a lot of people start out with these as a beginning learning quadcopter, and it's just a really nice flyer. And there's a yaw on beginner's rate, or low rate. There's only 2 rates, but it's really smooth. I just can't say enough about that. With the altitude hold feature, hands are off the controller, and look at that. For the price, you're getting a pretty much fully loaded quadcopter with FPV. You record directly to the memory card on the camera, so you don't have to worry about just recording the low-res feed to the camera like many of them use. And you get, altitude hold, so it's just got everything you want. But it is pretty sluggish. As you see there's a pitch and low rate, but that's kind of what you want if you're a beginner. I'm going to go ahead and switch it to a higher rate, and you do that by just doing a quick press on the right stick, and now you can see it's a little more sporty, a little quicker. The yaw increases. I wouldn't say it's a sporty flyer, but it's a camera quad, so you don't want it to be too sporty. Let's take it up a little bit. We can demonstrate the yaw is quicker, what you'd want. Just bring it down, just kind of gently. It comes down nicely. It doesn't hang. just comes down nice and smooth like you'd want it to. Like I said, I don't pull straight down the stick when I'm bringing it down and hold it there, just in case it would kill the motors. I tested it yesterday low to the ground, and it didn't kill it, but I'm not sure how long I held it down. You know, still a little bit paranoid about that, because the X8HG has a tendency to fall out of the sky if you kill the motors, which is just a poor design feature. But this one doesn't, you know, so far I've had no problems with any of that. See, it's like I said, it's not too bad. It's, like I said, I wouldn't say it's super sporty, but it's not slow and in the high rate. The LEDs look good at night, but like, you know, of course with the 1S LiPo, you're not going to see the LEDs much during the day. So it's going to make it tough to see the low voltage. The lights are blinking right now because I'm recording. So again, I don't know how that would work when you're recording video and you hit the low voltage alarm. So usually, you know, you want to stop recording before you get towards the end of your flight time. But just a really neat looking quad, you know, that they redesigned it a little bit. I imagine it still uses the same flight controller as the X5 series. Just really impressed with this quadcopter. I like the landing gear. I'll show you here. Let's do a landing here in front of my pool. We'll do an automatic landing. That was kind of a rough landing. I took off here higher than that, so it could be the barometer was not detecting that was going to be the ground, because this is about 5 feet higher than where I was. So let's go ahead and we'll test that down here again. Let's go ahead and do an automatic takeoff. But I said the landing gear is so nice. Even though it's a bit of a rough landing, it wasn't any big deal. I have not crashed this yet. It's just such a good flyer. Let's go ahead and we'll stop recording video now. You can take photos with the rear left button. If you want to take some photos, maybe you want to inspect the roof of your house or something like that, this thing would be perfect for that. There's not much wind today either, which helps, but I said this is a good flyer. I think, you know, anything small like this you wouldn't want to fly in real high winds. It's not going to be able to have enough pitch to fight it. But I would definitely recommend flying this on the higher rate if you're an experienced flyer. If you just this is your first quadcopter, you might start out in low rate until you get the hang of it. But in the higher rate, it's pretty nice. I like it. And like I said, I really like the look of it. Ooh, just chopped up I think that was actually a seed off the tree, not a butterfly. I've chopped up butterflies before in my big quadcopter on accident, and it looks a lot like that. Wish I would have been I wish I had the camera going at that time. That would have been kind of cool. Let's bring it overhead, and I think now that the clouds in the sun, you might be able to see the green LEDs in the back and the orange LEDs in the front. So a nice contrast in the colors, so it gives you good orientation, especially like I said, at night. Of course, you can't do FPV flying at night, so I'll do a little FPV flying here. I'm not too used to doing the FPV on a phone like this. It's a little bit laggy, and I can see that there's some, you know, there's definitely some jello. Probably not going to be able to see it in the video here because of the glare of the sun. I've got my phone brightness all the way up as high as it'll go on my LG, but so I can see it sufficiently to fly, not a problem. If you balance these propellers, probably could eliminate some of that jello. I don't think that these will fit onto my little cheap balancer. Did try to do that though. But it's nice and smooth. I mean, you know, especially if you want to record video, you can just take it around nice and easy like that, and you're not going to, you know, be aimed at the ground so much, because the camera's not adjustable. That's one thing I kind of a little bit of a downer on that is you're set at the same angle as the quadcopter, but at least you're not aimed down towards the ground like you see in many of them, because then you're just going to be filming the ground a bunch as you're flying forward pitch. So that's better that at least it's aimed forward. So, but basically, I mean, the lag is not too bad. Occasionally it'll freeze up, but not a lot. And the range seems to be sufficient. I've not pushed it real far. I don't usually push these little toy quads too far. Alright, let's take it down. Alright. Well, I think that pretty much covers a flight review. So, stay tuned for more videos. I think I've got another one coming up here soon, and a few more in the mail. So, please subscribe and stay tuned. Thanks.